Good morning. I'm Tia Maria Smith from PA Kin Connector. On behalf of the Office of Children, Youth, and Families and Grand Family Connections of Chester County, we welcome you to the first Empowering Kinship Families Lunch and Learn event. We hope that you will have what we have in store for you today will help you in your kinship journey. Today's meeting is divided into 3 sections. First, the learning section. Here, we will provide information on how to manage the new family dynamics that often result from kinship care. After that, we will provide information on how to successfully co-parent with the biological parents. The next section is lunch, my favorite. Here, in addition to a delicious meal from Food Frenzy, you will have the opportunity to connect with other caregivers, as well as learn how the 15 resource organizations here with us today can help you and the children in your care. So now it's my pleasure to introduce you to our trainer, Alex Masdom. He's also from PA Kin Connector. Alex is passionate about helping families thrive. He has an academic background in counseling and is certified by the National Alliance on Mental Illness as a support group facilitator. Alex is at his best when walking with others as they navigate life's challenges and celebrate the positives along the way. His dedication to helping grandparents at PA Kin Connector has earned him praise from caregivers and family care professionals alike. Alex?
Well, thank you, Tia Maria. I'm happy to be joining you guys today, and it's wonderful to see some familiar faces, exciting to see new faces, and I especially want to give a warm welcome to the families joining us online. So during this first training, I'd ask that you please hold your questions until afterward, and just to keep people safe in case, like me, you get nervous, you're welcome to write your questions down and go ahead and pass them forward to our lovely program coordinator, Candy, and then we'll be taking them after the first training. Now, also, I want to give credit where credit's due. These trainings are originally by Dr. Crumbly, so if you have anything that resonates with you, anything that you enjoyed, anything positive to say, please let us know and we'll pass the praise on to Dr. Crumbly. So first off, when it comes to family dynamics and kinship care, we're going to be talking about what are systems. Now in specific, how does kinship care affect my family as a system? And what choices can I make to change my family for the better? So before we talk about systems, I want to hear from you guys. Maybe you can help me out. The typical kinship family is, or maybe a typical grandparent, a typical kinship caregiver is, what do you guys think? What's a kinship family like? It's okay to take your time and think about it. Now, online listeners, you're welcome to share with us in the chat. People or multiple things that each have a purpose to serve. Now, one of my favorite systems is the solar system. You see, there's all these planets with the moons revolving around the planets, and everything revolves around the sun. Now, for the longest time, people thought the universe was centered around the Earth until there was an aha moment. That light bulb went on. Galileo Galilei invented the telescope, and he realized that the sun is really at the center of our little corner of the galaxy. Now, I like to relate this to kinship care because when the child comes into care, they're that bright and shining star that should be put at the center of everyone's lives, whether it's the grandparent, the aunts and uncles, or even the parent. You see, the parent's needs no longer come first. That according to Dr. Crumbly, the big takeaway is that the child's needs come first in kinship care. Now, this isn't always easy in the beginning. This can cause some waves as things change. And so we're going to talk about helping you navigate those changes. But first, I want to hear from you guys. When you initially became grandparents a second time or kinship caregivers, what changed in your life?
Everything.
Everything. Oh, I bet it was night and day difference, right? Yes?
Loss of free time.
Loss, yes, especially loss of time, maybe a loss of goals. In the back?
I was going to say scheduling and finances.
That's a big change, yes, that your schedule gets turned upside down and, you know, there's different priorities financially. Anybody else? What changed for you personally?
Actually, the relationship with my spouse, my husband.
That's pretty common. We hear from grandparents all the time that it causes some tension or that it changes when it comes to your significant other, your spouse, that you have to make room for that new child and there's less time as a couple. Now, I've even heard from some grandparents where they choose to put the child's needs first, and that means maybe moving on from a relationship. We had one grandparent from our support group where she was really doing some soul searching. She was wondering, is this the right choice? Do I have what it takes at my age to care for a grandchild? And unfortunately, the person she was seeing wasn't as open to taking in a child. So at the end of the day, there was a wonderful success story, but she had to make a lot of sacrifice in the beginning. But she kept the child's needs first, and we were so grateful for her that we came around her as a group, we helped her on the warm line, and I just want to let you guys know there is hope. A lot changes when kinship care first happens, but if you're persistent, if you stick with it, and if you leverage your resources, if you reach out to family, to friends, to people who care from the community. For example, Grand Families in Chester County, wonderful group. We'd love to help you guys get connected. There's other support groups in the greater Philadelphia, and for you listening online, we have a support group for you too. So the whole point is, you can overcome these adversities together, and we're going to talk about how. So along with what changed for you, how did the children react? And how did other families react when kinship care first happened? Were they excited? Were they nervous? Maybe some people got jealous. You see, it affects the whole family. It's not just about you guys. So another big idea, kinship care changes pre-existing dynamics, and obviously this causes some growing pains. So when the children are put first, people can be jealous. Maybe other grandchildren wonder, well, why does, the child in care get more attention? Why do they get new clothing? Why are they getting toys instead of us? Or vice versa. We've heard from children that ask, well, when the other grandchildren or nieces and nephews come over, they don't have the same rules. They're not being disciplined like I am. Why is grandma treating me differently than them? Why does she get to be the fun grandparent, but with me, she's a parent? Other times, you guys get stuck in the middle. If parents push back, maybe there's some triangulation that they're putting their needs over the children, or maybe other relatives, they don't quite understand the sacrifices you have to make out of love for these families. There's definitely changes in power, changes in custody, changes in roles when children come into care, and it's okay. It's normal for your family to give you a little bit of pushback, but we want to let you know there's hope. That when you change something for the better, it can change the whole family. So if you guys stick with it, you can be change agents. So yeah, initially you'll see there's this domino effect that when children come into care, everything changes. But, with change, unfortunately comes loss. Now typically in America, we're used to thinking of grief as happening when someone passes away. Now in reality, grief can be connected to any change, whether it's a happy event like marriage, or maybe you're losing a job, maybe you have a health issue where you've lost some mobility. With kinship care, there's loss of dreams, there's loss of plans, there's loss of independence. We hear from grandparents that say, well, I don't have as much time for my friends, or other grandparents, other aunts and uncles, they just can't relate to what I'm going through. Which is why it's so vital to get plugged into support groups, or even just to meet up for a coffee with people that know, people that understand, and people that care about you guys. So once again, it's normal to have these feelings when you're going through change, and for the whole family to have feelings. You get all different types of reactions, whether it's surprise, denial, maybe a little bit of resentment or anger. And so like we said, there's going to be some tension as the whole family works through these things. And we want to make sure that you guys are caring well for yourselves, because at the end of the day, research shows you have to be okay for the children to be okay. Now this means, finding ways to take breaks, finding ways to recharge your batteries, finding ways to let go of some of the stress and some of the pressure, whether it's a friend that can come and help care for the kids, whether it's getting respite care, or once again, joining a support group is a great step that you can make to care well for yourself so you can care well for the kids. Now, when it comes to grief, you don't have to label it as grief. You know, you might notice that you're feeling a little bit more tired. Maybe you're feeling a little bit more restless or irritable. Now, once again, it's okay, but I want to let you know the only wrong way to grieve is just to push it under the rug and ignore it. So there's nothing wrong in asking for help or just kind of over time processing things. They say the degree that we're impacted by change is directly connected to how much we love someone, how much we love something. And so a lot of times we hear from grandparents on the phone, they say, you know, it was so hard for me to watch my son, my daughter going through these things in life and to not be able to be there and just fix everything. Other times they say, well, overnight life changed. We had all these plans, these retirement goals, this vacation we were going to take. And, you know, we stepped up because it was the right thing to do. There's not even a second doubt. But it affects them. And that's why we want to let you know that it's okay to process over time. I had a good friend, a mentor actually. She lost a son tragically to a motorcycle accident. She was grieving for years. And some people, they just didn't get it. But you see, for me, it was beautiful because it showed how deeply she truly cared for her son. And so if you guys find that you're down or maybe a little bit tired, it's okay. It just shows that you really love your children, that you really love your grandchildren. Okay, now the fun part. When it comes to family systems, here's something called a genogram, otherwise a family map. Now, anyone out there like me that you just really prefer maps? Or maybe you're more like my wife, that you like a GPS that says, turn left, turn right, go straight. Oh, you know, sometimes I think if I have to hear recalculating or make a U-turn one more time, I'm going to throw that phone out the window because I like to take the scenic route in life. You see, when it comes to maps, it's not just about the destination. It shows you where you've been, where you're at, and maybe, just maybe, where you want to go, if there's some detours to make along the way. And having a map can be empowering because it's not someone telling you what to do. It gives you guys the opportunity to make choices, to make changes, and to really achieve your goals, which is one of my favorite things to do on the Warm Line when kinship families call. So this is a typical family tree, and we're going to show you how to do a kinship map. So on the bottom in the center, you'll see the child in care. Now this is before kinship care happens. If you guys had to choose where to put that child, where would you place him or her in the family, in the tree, once she's in kinship care? Would they stay in the same position? Would they maybe move up a row? Where would the best spot to place that child be? Now just remember what Dr. Crumbly says, the child's needs come first. Now I'll give you a little bit of time to think about it. Yes?
Put the child right in the center.
Oh, I love it, right in the center, because the whole family is making the child a priority. Anybody else? So yes, initially we see when kinship care happens, the child moves up, that they're now being cared for as if they were a biological child of the aunt or the uncle or the grandparent. And this is where the tension comes in, that the birth parent might wonder, well, why are the child's needs coming first when I'm hurting too? I'm going through a hard time. Or even worse, we've all heard this one, how can you be there for them when you weren't there for me growing up? Now the good thing is research shows that the second time around, grandparents or even aunts and uncles, they just do it better. That you've matured, you're capable, you have great connections with the children, and so really you're the best choice to be caring for them. But over time, the ideal position for the kinship child is first, above everyone else's needs but the caregiver. So you're still caring well for yourselves, but it means that you have healthy conversations and you're letting the rest of the family know it's normal to give the children a little bit more time, a little bit more attention, a little bit more help tangibly, because they've been through a lot. You know, the transition isn't easy on children either, and so they need to be generously loved on when kinship care first happens. So along with this basic family map, I'm going to show you something a little bit more helpful we can do when we're creating our own roadmaps of kinship care. Now the whole goal in making our roadmap is to understand maybe how the families responded to kinship care. Has there been realignments where people are working against the best needs of the children? Maybe is the birth parent trying to sabotage? Are they going behind people's back and colluding? Now, how many of you guys remember growing up the game Telephone? The whole he said, she said. Now, I don't know about you guys, but in school, my friends and I, we like to be a little bit ornery. We'd switch the message for fun and just giggle and giggle. But the whole point is, in kinship care, this really isn't healthy to put the child in the middle. And to the best of your ability, you want to try and work things out maturely and with compassion with either the birth parents or whichever family is kind of struggling with the transition. It's okay to have a heart-to-heart where you really just listen to understand them, but please don't stick the children in the middle. You know, you want to do your best to care for them and to protect them. Now with parents, in the second training, we're going to talk about how to get their buy-in, but there's some really key steps where as the parent, if they're being oppositional or if they're kind of hesitant to accept the change, you can work with them to help them become a part of the family unit again and still caring for their children even when the kids aren't living for them. And finally, this map will show you how has loss impacted our family? How has change impacted our family? Maybe who grew closer when it came to leaning on each other through the transition? Who grew a little bit more distant? Where were there some conflict? So one more time, kinship care isn't just about moving that child. It affects the whole family. And so for you listening online, you're welcome to try this exercise out now. For you in person, we're going to go ahead and just equip you and encourage you to do this in your free time. But here is a typical family map. On the left-hand side, you'll see a basic family tree. That to create our map, we're going to list, you know, the men and the women and how they're related. It's grandparents, aunts and uncles, maybe birth parents, and on the bottom, you'll see the grandchildren or the children in care. Now on the right-hand side, don't be overwhelmed, but there's some symbols. Now the key thing to notice is this map will help show you, you know, who's getting along, who has a positive relationship, and where there's tension. Now, unfortunately, sometimes we hear from callers on the warm line or from our grandparent families that there's been a history of neglect or abuse. It's okay to put that on your map too. You don't have to be ashamed that we've all had situations, and I can guarantee, you know, a lot of these families go through similar things. Now, if you saw my family map, it looks like a Jackson Pollock painting. So say it's a little bit messy. Now, when you're making this map, the whole goal is to empower you to see what can change for the better. Maybe if there's a little bit of tension or conflict or distance, it means that you can be proactive in repairing those relationships to get the parents' buy-in or to maybe help the other families draw alongside you. So just like one of our in-person attendees said, ideally the map will result with the child in the center, just like the sun in the center of our galaxy shining. Okay, here's another quick example. Now this example family map shows where maybe there's been some distance, some conflict. Now your map doesn't have to be this detailed, but I highly encourage you when you have some free time just to draw out your family. And in the second talk coming up soon, we're going to talk about empowering you and how to change and improve some of these connections. Now in the meantime, I'm curious to hear, does anyone have any questions? Okay, well without ado, I guess we'll just launch into the next training. And thanks for being patient. So this one's my favorite. I'd highly encourage you to check out the online trainings by Dr. Crumbly, that this is just a quick appetizer. He's got two wonderful, they're half an hour long, so an hour total segments you're welcome to go to if you want to dig deeper. But I'll be running through the basics with you now. So when it comes to co-parenting and kinship care, we're going to talk about what is co-parenting, and in specific, how does it apply to kinship care. Next, we'll cover reasons why we co-parent. Because I hear what you're thinking, you know, it's not always easy to get along with the birth parents, and wouldn't they be better off with just, you know, me doing it alone? Or sometimes we hear from our callers, they feel a little bit guilty, they second guess themselves. They wonder, would the children have been better off in foster care? Which, to let you guys know, usually family does it better. And the outcomes show that children thrive when it comes to being with relatives. Both their mental health, their educational development, their social connections, the preservation of their culture, their language, and their sense of connectedness to the family. These are all key advantages children have when being raised by kinship families or grandparents. Now finally, we're going to give you practical tips on how to improve your connections with family members so you can work together in collaborating for the well-being of the children. So overall, when it comes to co-parenting, it's basically working together for the common goal and the shared purpose of helping children thrive. Now, sometimes it's easier to think about this as a partnership between you and the parents. Other times, we can think about it as a team approach, where we involve the extended family, the community, and anyone who's willing to show up and love on these children to give them the best future and the best present possible. They say it takes a village, and it's okay to have that village there for you guys too, to love on and care for you. So once again, key idea from Dr. Crumbly is that to keep the children's needs first, it's about cooperating. So it's not a competition, it's working together for the best interests of the child, and also you're not working against each other. You have the same goal, you're on the same team, that you're for the child. Now, I hear what you're thinking. What if we have a past, What if there's been a history? What if I can't trust the birth parents? Which we're going to talk about how to handle that a little bit further in the conversation. But first off, I want to let you know, how do we co-parent? So, when it comes to co-parenting instead of foster parenting, the key advantage you have and the place to start in how to co-parent is that you already have that relationship. The children know you. Maybe they trust you. They love you. And so it's much safer. It's much quicker. It's easier for the children. And truth be told, it's a little easier for you guys too, since they already know you and it's a natural transition. Whereas with foster families, it can be a little bit jarring. It can be a little bit challenging for the kids to learn how to open up and trust again and to adapt. And so the whole point is you can really lean on that pre-existing relationship and just delight. There's going to be sacrifices. I understand, that there's going to be stress and at times it'll be a struggle, but I encourage you just to find those silver linings, the moments when the clouds part and the sun shines and you can just rejoice in the time that you're spending with your grandchildren, with your nieces and nephews. And the moments are precious, they grow up quickly. And looking back, we hear from grandparents that say, we'd love to do it all again if we were given a chance. So, two are better than one when it comes to co-parenting. That for the most part, you want to share responsibility. It's not one person doing the lion's share and the other person just popping in and popping out. That really, you're going to be better as a team when it comes to working with the parents. Which means, in the beginning, you're going to maintain contact. Now the key here is to give the parent as much contact, as much responsibility, and maybe even as much time in person as they can respectfully and maturely handle. Now what this looks like with families is, maybe if parents are farther along in their life goals, in their recovery, that they can rebuild their relationship with the children, that they can have a closer walk, maybe coming over for visits, maybe doing overnights on weekends. And that if they've shown that they're trustworthy, kind of like teenagers. Do you guys remember when your kids were younger? That they got as much many privileges as that they showed they're responsible for. Same concept with the parents. Now, in our support group a while back, one of our members, she's beloved, she's vocal, she's really just a leader of our support group. She shared her tip. It was that in the beginning, she got her granddaughter because there had been some neglect. And the granddaughter, she had abandonment issues, that it was hard for her to trust, it was hard for her to open up. And so what they found worked for them was having supervised contact. Now to start off, this meant emails and something called Kid Messenger, where they were writing and the mother was involved every day saying, hi, I love you, I miss you, how's your day going? Now eventually, as the mother rebuilt the trust, this grew into in-person visits where her daughter could go back and see her. Now, when it comes to recovery, it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And so unfortunately, there was an instance where they had to kind of pull back from those visits. But I think that's really where the grandmother shone in her maturity and just letting the child's needs come first. That she let the child dictate the pace and where her granddaughter felt what was safe, what was healthy. And then once again, when the mother rebuilt trust after it had been lost, they went back to having in-person visits. And so the whole point is you kind of meet the parents where they're at, but you don't want to completely cut them out of the picture. You see, children need their parents. They long to be valued and be validated by their parents, to know that they're loved not just by grandma or grandpa or aunt or uncle, but having that parent still be a part of the child's life, even if it's just an occasional message once every few months. As Dr. Crumbly said, there was a grandparent who reached out, and she was wise. What she did is she would contact the father and have him say, you know, kids, I really need you to help grandma, and you can also help me by obeying grandma's rules, by being respectful to grandma, by helping her around the house, by showing her you care. And in doing this, you see what he was doing was giving his children permission, because sometimes children feel guilty. They want to know, is it okay to love someone besides my parent? I don't want to sell my parents out. I don't want to be caught in the middle. And so it's really healthy for the parents just to let them know it's okay to love more than one person, and it's okay to bond with them as a caregiver, just like you did with mom or dad. Real quick, a few more reasons why kinship care is better in co-parenting than foster care. Reunification. So you have the option, if the parents are doing well, maybe ideally we hear from families that they hold on to hope that they'll end up back with mom and dad. And when the kids go home and they can live with their parents again, this means that you still get to be a part of their life. You still get to go to the sports games, maybe the dance recitals or the music events. You can be involved, whether it's on a daily basis, a weekly basis, or a monthly basis. Whereas foster parents, they don't have that option. If kids go back to be with the parents, it means the foster family's out of the picture. And so you also have continuity of relationship in kinship families. Now, the flip side is true too. If for whatever reason, mom and dad aren't able to be full-time caregivers again, they can still be involved in their children's lives. Their rights aren't terminated, they're not out of the picture, and this is vital to the children's development and, you know, their sense of identity, their self-esteem, their well-being. And so really the key is that kinship care preserves relationships. Okay, now how do we engage with these the birth parents? Here's some practical tips. First step is they have to share their authority, which means whether over the phone or in person or by email, that they're validating you, you're getting on the same page when it comes to the rules and how the children should act, how the children should treat you as their new caregiver, and they're sharing their role. They're giving up some of that authority and power. Now, it might be hard to get their buy-in, but what we recommend doing is saying something like this. Right now, you need someone to love your children. You need someone to be available and to care. And I'm showing up to be that person. I can care in the short term while you're being well or working towards wellness in the long term. And also, when you do get those kids back, it helps to have you involved in their lives and maintaining the authority and backing me up on the rules, so that way when they come back to live with you, it's a natural transition, that the kids aren't fighting you, they're not undermining you, that they still see you as that parental figure and that authority. And in that way, you come to be co-authority figures working for the well-being of the children. So in this circumstance, the birth parent is going to tell the kids to obey and to accept you, and that it's okay to do that. But it's a clear expectation that what you say goes. That it's not them saying, well, if we were with mommy or daddy, we wouldn't have to go to bed at 8, or mommy and daddy would let us have ice cream every night of the week. You know, kids, they're getting trickier nowadays. They try and pull fast ones on you. But when the parents are there to back you up, things work much better. Now, it also means parents give permission to the children to love you and to see you as that new parent, to bond with you as a caregiver. Kids have big hearts and they want to give a lot of love, but it might feel challenging for them. It might feel different initially, and that's where having the parent vocally, just giving them permission, is really vital to help them overcome those challenges or navigate that transition. Now, you want to give the children permission to start over as well. We know that sometimes, you know, their families of origin weren't always the most healthy or weren't always the most normal. Maybe they didn't feel safe with their parents. Now, as a caregiver, this is where you shine, that you really excel. You see, all you have to do is show up, to be available, to be safe, and to love on them generously. What you're looking to do is to meet those needs as they constantly ask, am I worth being loved? Are my needs worth being met? Am I worth being cared for? And just with you stepping up to be a kinship caregiver, you've already given a resounding yes. And you want to just keep subtly affirming that and drawing near them, while at the same time giving grace. You know, it's normal for children to rebel a little bit, to give some pushback, and they've been through a lot. And so this is why it helps for you to be cared well for and to care well for yourself, so you can care well for the children during these stages of kinship care. Now, finally, it's normal for kids to miss their parents, and that's also why you want the kids to have that connection, the ongoing connection with mom and dad. Oh, but there's always these situations. What about the difficult parents? You know, the ones that undermine you, the ones that insult you, the ones that no matter how hard you try, they're seeming to work against you. Well, and the reality is parents are going to have their bad days. They're not always going to be able to show up and be an ideal co-parent. So in this situation, a good place to start, as the adage goes, if you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. Now, when you're talking with the co-parents, this might look like, well, if you can't back me up, at least can you tell the children not to go against me? At least can you tell them not to run away? At least can you tell them not to antagonize me? Or even if you can't say something nice about me and affirm my capacity as a caregiver, at least can you tell the kids not to curse me out? At least can you not say negative things behind my back or cut me down? You see, we're on the same team. I'm caring for your kids and I want to care well. And in order to do that, I need you, and I'm willing to just offer the laurel of peace to say, hey, we don't have to fight against each other. We're fighting for the kids. And so the starting point is just to ask them to play nice and to be civil or to be positive instead of cutting you down. Remember, you can't always change how you're going to respond or how they act, but you can change your reaction to what they do. So this means you're going to avoid belittling the parents, whether in front of the kids or behind their backs. You're not going to stick the children in the middle. You know, no telephone, you're not triangulating, and you're going to ask the birth parents to follow these same rules. That ideally, as the kids first come into care, or even before, you set some boundaries and some guidelines with the kids' well-being at heart. They're not going to be undermining you, but at the same time, you're not going to be undermining their goals. That if they want to have the kids back, that you're going to eventually be at peace or work with them towards achieving that goal, you know, if it's a healthy goal, if it's an achievable goal. Also, this happens more in divorce, but you see it sometimes in kinship care. You're not going to pressure the kids to take sides. It's not about who they love more. It's not about even who they like being with more. That ideally, it's a win-win that you can both love on the children. Now, this is harder for the parents sometimes, especially when they fear losing their relationship. We see that they'll try and buy the kids' love. They'll try and one-up with you. And so it does take a lot of maturity just to kind of overlook that or let it bounce off and not take it personal. And this, once again, is why it's so vital to reach out for help if you're feeling stressed, if you're feeling belittled or put down. Support groups are vital. You're also welcome to call our warm line, and even more just to talk with a trusted family member or friend who can care and listen. So instead of that tug of war, the key goal is empathy. Put yourself in the kids' shoes and ask, you know, what do they need? How are they feeling? What can I do to better help them thrive? And even if the parents are able, help them walk a mile in their kids' shoes, so that way instead of working against you, they're working for the kids. Some more takeaways. It helps to find common ground with the parents when it comes to not only caring for the kids, but the parents' recovery. So you might want to talk about some life goals. Let them know, I'm here for you too as a parent. I'm not just here for the grandkids, or maybe as a brother and sister, I'm here for you. I'm not just here for your children as niece and nephew. What are some of your life goals? What are your next steps? What do you need to be a better version of you? Maybe this is looking for housing or getting employment. Maybe this is overcoming a medical condition, recovering from a surgery, doing what they need to be healthy so they can care for the kids. Or maybe even it's a mental health or a substance abuse issue where it means that the parents can take some time to go through rehab or to get well, so that way they're stable and they can love effectively in healthy ways when they get their kids back. Now the key thing in doing this, the parents are really driving that plan, so you might be able to suggest some action steps, but you're not pushing them, you're not setting a timeline. And I know it's frustrating if they relapse or if they're not consistent or if they're not sticking to their responsibilities. And this is where, you want to keep the children's interests at heart, but you can drive some change when it comes to the kids. A member of our support group said her breakthrough moment was essentially what had been happening is her daughter was working to overcome some health issues after overdosing, and she was living with the family. And things were going kind of well, but the daughter just really wasn't getting it when it came to being a mom, And so what happened is the grandson, he needed a medical appointment. That month after month went by, and it was just a routine checkup, a visit to his pediatrician. And the grandmother, at first, she was polite. She asked her daughter, can you schedule this appointment? Remember, your son needs a medical visit. And she kept, politely and patiently giving these promptings. Now, as time went on, she got a little bit more assertive. And eventually, she had to use her authority as the parent, the kinship parent, to schedule that appointment herself. She took her grandson to the doctor, and thankfully, the grandson was well. Now, what do you think the parent's reaction was to this? Do you think she said, oh, great, wonderful, you did it for me, that's one less thing on my to-do list? No, I see some of you shaking your heads. You see, the parent was offended. She said, how could you do this to me? And at first, the grandmother was taken aback. She was shocked. She said, I can't believe you're even talking that way. And so this led to a breakthrough because they had a heart-to-heart, and the grandmother, in a loving and compassionate way, made it very clear to her daughter that the child's needs come first. And this actually ended up being a wake-up call to her daughter, that the daughter realized, she wasn't doing what she had to and what she should to help her own son thrive. And, as she progressed in her recovery, that moment she looked back and saw it as a turning point, that she started putting her child first, or she even prioritized her recovery so she could be well to be a mother. And I just remember the grandmother sharing in our support group, if she hadn't had the courage to do what was right for the child, she didn't feel that her daughter would have gotten well or understood, that she had to make some better choices in order for her to get her life better and straight, in order for the child to be cared for. And so I want to encourage you guys to not shy away from these difficult conversations. I understand not only is it uncomfortable, but it can feel heartbreaking to be attacked by the people you love, whether that's a son or daughter, a friend, whoever child you're caring for, because really, you've sacrificed so much to care for them. And grandparents or kinship families, they don't get nearly enough thanks. And so when you go to have these heart-to-hearts or talk about boundaries with the parents, just be aware they might push back, they might say mean things, they might yell at you, but in the end, there's hope that you can push through it and set some healthy boundaries, and there's going to come a day when they say thank you, when they wake up and they get it, that what you were doing really was caring for the children. And if not, remember, at least you can ask them not to be negative. At least you can ask them not to work against you. Because at the end of the day, I'd like to think that we all just really want these kids to thrive and to grow up well. Which once again, when it comes to talking with the parents, yes, there's a past. Now you don't always have to dig up old graves or to get into those issues, but when it happens, the most helpful thing to do is just to listen well. Now this works for marriages, this works for parents and children, this works for siblings. The first step is you're not going to try and get your point across, you're not going to argue. You might not even, agree with how the parents feel, but your whole goal is just to understand them, to let them share their side of the story, to let them vent. I like to think of this as going through a drive-through. The technique is called listen, understand, and validate. And oh my, I gotta share something I'm a little bit self-conscious about. I have difficulty with drive-throughs. Now, what I mean is, when you go to McDonald's or my favorite Chick-fil-A, they typically repeat your order back to you. And you know, when I go alone, they get it right most of the time, no big deal. So I'm just used to kind of checking out, okay, I got my order. But the problem is, I love my wife to death, but she's from another country and English is her second language. So sometimes when she orders, they don't always understand the order and get it right. And this is why it's key that they're going to just listen to understand what she said or what the person says when they're asking for the meal. And all they're doing is repeating it back. They're not saying, oh, you chose French fries? Maybe a better choice would have been that salad. Or, I really wanted you to supersize that meal. Why did you just leave it regular? You see, these drive-through workers, they know the secret. They're listening, they're understanding, and they're just repeating back to you exactly what you said. And when it works, you get your food. When it doesn't, you know, your wife's angry, and you think next time you'll listen when they're repeating the order. So when it comes to kinship care, that just means you're hearing the parent out. You're hearing your brother or sister out. And the thing is, when they feel heard, when they feel understood, that's when they're going to let down their guard and open up and listen to you. And we understand, you know, they're not perfect. You're not perfect. There's still going to be disagreements. There's still going to be feelings. But until you take that first step to build a bridge and to listen and to understand and to repeat that order back to them, it's going to be a lot harder to get them on the same page. And so, yeah, it begins with listening well, putting the children's needs first, caring well for yourself, and at the end of the day, finding that community that can build you up, that you can lean on when you're down, and that understands and cares. A few more quick tips. It helps to talk about what you're going to do differently the second time around, both with the parents and maybe with your significant other or your support system. We understand that nobody's perfect. There's always things we can improve. And so when the kids are being cared for, it's okay to talk about maybe what didn't work well, what you'd like to see change, and even have regular check-ins with the parents to get their perspective. Regular check-ins with the children just to see how it's going and if, you know, they would like anything or they have any other needs. And regular check-ins with yourself to see what needs do you have that aren't being met and how can you maybe take care of yourself, de-stress, take a step back, and just be well. We've talked about this a little. You're going to set respectful limits and guidelines, but what happens if those parents cross those boundaries? If they break the rules, if they're not, you know, playing nice, so to say. It's okay to take a step back, to create some distance, and to send a message that they're welcome to be a part of the children's lives, but they need to be a safe part. They need to be a positive influence on the children. And if they can't handle that responsibility, they lose a little bit of privileges until they've regained the trust. Now, not always the most fun thing to have to say, but if you're keeping the children's needs first, it's the right thing to do. Another thing, when it comes to discipline, you got to step up. Now, I know for some grandparents, some aunts and uncles, this comes easy. For other families, they have a tendency to call the parents and make them the bad guy. You know, oh, they're not listening to me, so let's just get mom on the phone. Or, oh, what dad says goes, so he's the go-to person when it comes to discipline. Now, this is one of the key mistakes I made as a teacher. Oh my. My first year, those kids just ran all over me because what choice did I make? I gave my authority away. I called in, you know, the coordinator, the superintendent, the principal, because whatever I was trying wasn't working with the kids. And I was burnt out, you know, I was at my limit, that I thought I wasn't capable of being a disciplinarian. But you see, when I gave my authority away, the kids, they wouldn't listen. The key step was when I started to set some of these limits and boundaries ahead of time, whatever works for you, whether it's sticker charts, you know, reinforcements, toys, going to the park, fun things, just know that the discipline starts with you, and it's okay to have the parents back you up, that you're on the same page, but the discipline really can't start with the birth parents. Now, we talked a little bit about this when it comes to listening well, but once you've taken that step, it's okay to care for the parents too, no matter where they're at in life, to let them know that you're still there for them, you're not gone. Sure, you're taking more time for the kids in care, but you want to be available to care for the family. And this is how you get the parents' buy-in, along with letting them know that you really would like them to be parents again someday. You're looking forward to the day when the kids go back with them. But rebuilding some of those bridges and just becoming a source of safety, of care, and trust, it helps in the long run when it comes to co-parenting. Action steps. You'll see on the graphic, action and recovery is a process. It starts with talking about your vision, your goals. What would you like to see happen as a family? What would you like to see happen as individuals? Next, it's what resources do we need to leverage? What people can we get involved? What agencies in the community? What concrete action steps can we take? And finally, what are our smart measures of success? How are you going to know when you've met those goals and you can be a full-time parent again? This is an ongoing process and it's different for every family, but I'd encourage you just to have a talk when it's appropriate to make sure that you can help keep the parents accountable, keep the family motivated, and just keep your eyes on the goal of the children, whatever is best for them, whether that's ending up with mom and dad again, whether that's mom and dad having weekend visits, or even if you're just a transitional caregiver as they go to live with another family member. Ideally, when you have the end in mind, it's going to help you through all the phases of co-parenting and kinship care. Last takeaway, don't be too hard on yourselves. It's okay to make mistakes. We don't have to be perfect. We don't know everything. I can guarantee as professionals, we're still learning that we encounter new situations with grandparents and aunts and uncles, kinship families every day. And so give yourself the grace. As my wise supervisor, Tia Maria, says, it helps to have a growth mindset. You're not looking to be perfect. You don't have to do everything right, but as long as you're a better family, a better caregiver, a better individual tomorrow, next week, next month than you were today or yesterday, the children, they're going to see that and they're going to be so grateful someday. They might not always see it now, and they might not always tell you, but I hope we can all eagerly look forward to the day when, with smiles on their faces, they say, "Thank you, Grandma. Thank you, Uncle. Thank you, Aunt. You were there for me when no one else was. You were the positive influence, the role model I needed during that time in life. And without you, I wouldn't have achieved my dreams. I wouldn't have succeeded, whether that's graduating high school, maybe going to college, learning a trade, or even starting a family themselves. You see, because you chose to step up and care, you're paying it forward, and at the end of the day, you're making a world of difference in these children's lives. So we just want to extend a thank you on behalf of Grand Families of Chester County, on behalf of PA Kin Connector, and on behalf of the kids that you've been caring for. We appreciate your sacrifices, we see you, and you've got what it takes to succeed. So, thank you. Any questions? Yes.
How is this different when there is no parent? They've died.
That's a really good question. The opportunity to co-parent would be whoever the children bonded with before their parent passed, and keeping that person involved. Maybe it was a friend of the family, maybe it was a teacher, another role model, could even be a different family member. That the whole goal is just to have them being parented in community. It doesn't always have to be a biological parent, the majority of the time it is, but you're welcome just to look for whoever the children had that attachment with, had that relationship with, and encourage him or her to be more involved or to continue being involved now that you're the new caregiver. Yes?
If the child was young when we got her, the parents, she was not bonded with anyone, so to speak. And the parents don't care. They've not been involved in 10 years.
That is a difficult situation. So her question was, what happens if there is no co-parent? If the child came into care early on in life, that a lot of times kinship families, they do receive babies from the hospital, maybe when children are young, 1, 2, 3 years old. And unfortunately, we hear that sometimes parents just aren't interested in being involved. Maybe they've dropped off the radar, you don't know how to contact them, they're in a different state. The sad truth is we hear this more often than not on the warm line. And with this situation, you want to approach it individually and go ahead and let the child be the one that decides whether or not to reach out. Deep down, all children, they want to have some connection to their heritage, some connection to their parents. And so there might come a time in life as they grow and they wonder, what was mom and dad like? Now, a key advantage you have as a grandparent, you carry that legacy. Even if the parent isn't physically present, the stories you have, the memories you can pass on, even some of the traits that you exemplify, you can notice in the children. And you have the ability to share what the parent was like to help children have some connection. Because even if mom or dad aren't available for communication, for calls, for emailing, even if you can't find them, there's still a way that the children can feel connection with them through you, through, you know, the memories you've made of mom and dad, and through the stories you can tell. So I'd encourage you, if you're picking up from your grandson or granddaughter, the children you're caring for, that they are wanting or longing for that connection, go ahead and start sharing some of those stories with them and just let them lead. Unfortunately, you know, we can't always find the parents or make the parents be involved, but you can still pass on those legacies. Good question. Yes?
What if the teenager doesn't want to communicate with her parent?
Well, that's fair, and it's normal for especially teens, especially if they feel they've been hurt by parents. And this is the situation where you kind of let them lead. It's a dance, and so they're going to be inviting you or the parents to that dance, and for whatever reason they're not in the mood to dance. You can politely encourage it, but go ahead and let them pick the timing when they're ready. And if they're not, I guess that's just you respect their decision. Which it is hard. Yes.
So in our case, my daughter, her child was brought to me by Children's Services. So I was a kinship caregiver and then became a certified foster parent. The first caseworker informed me that if I were to, quote, care for the parent too, that would be grounds for removal of my granddaughter. She said I had to cut ties with my adult daughter and that I could not give her any kind of support of any sort. No guidance, no, hey, go seek therapy, go get drug counseling, nothing. Any of that would be grounds for removing my granddaughter. Is there any move to get CYS to be a little bit more agreeable to grandparents being foster parents?
So what you're asking is if children and youth, or you know, the judge, whoever has the authority, is asking you not have a relationship with the birth parents, that you're not in communication with them. That is kind of a unique situation. We haven't encountered that one before in our warm line. I would encourage you, as the children, you know, adjust to being in your care, to revisit that, whether it's with the caseworker, with the supervisor, with the judge, to see if they're willing to be more lenient. Now, it's going to depend on where the parent's at in his or her safety, because children and youth, at the end of the day, they have the children's best interests at mind and they want to keep those children safe. But on the other hand, developmentally, it is vital for the kids to still have some connection with parents. And so, you know, what we've heard from the conversations we've had with families is it's usually non-negotiable that the birth parents are living in the same household with grandparents if they're licensed. But there's the opportunity for visitation sometime. Or in the case that parental rights have been terminated, you might want to try and get permission for you know, messaging or phone visits with the parents. And I'd encourage you to deal with that, you know, just revisiting it when the time's appropriate with the caseworker, kind of once the waves have settled a little bit. Yeah, but there's still hope. Anybody else? Yes?
Well, so in our case, so our daughter has intellectual disabilities and autism and pretty high anxiety. So she does live with us with her 6-year-old daughter. Her 6-year-old daughter's never met her dad. Her dad is in another state, far away, and they've never met. It's a very brief relationship. And he's really not interested in her. So she just has her mom, but it's challenging because her mom, we can't have a lot of these conversations because her mom's not developmentally truly it's like having two children in a household.
Sure.
Our 6-year-old granddaughter and our daughter, who's more mentally a 12-year-old, 10 or 12-year-old. So, and at this point at 6, my granddaughter's just started first grade, and she's really realizing her mom is not like all the other moms.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it's really, again, but she loves her mom. She really loves her mom. And I certainly don't want to be, her mom is important to her. But on the other hand, her mom really doesn't have the capacity to carry her in many ways, except for that love, which she's good at. Sometimes not. But it's a very difficult, it's a very difficult dynamic to work with. Because also then my daughter does get jealous that her daughter, my granddaughter, will treat me like her mom. So she, first thing in the morning she comes to me to help her get ready for school. She comes to me for a lot of things.
Yeah.
And I'm torn with putting my granddaughter first, obviously, but without belittling my daughter.
Which is understandable. And so to quickly rephrase the question, how can kinship caregivers respond when maybe there's a developmental condition or a medical condition, or maybe a mental health condition that prevents them from effectively being parents? I think what I'm hearing is you're doing a lot of things right, and I want to celebrate that. Now, some other suggestions I might have would be, if you're worried about your daughter getting jealous when it comes to you being the primary caregiver, go ahead and include your daughter a little bit more, that maybe she's not the main caregiver and maybe she wouldn't be the first one that the grandchild goes to, but if the child's coming to you to get dressed or to eat breakfast, go ahead and let the mother draw near and be involved in that process, whether that's shadowing, maybe with helping with one of the steps. Just the more you can engage her, the better. Now, at the same time, you're wise in understanding that maybe the mother doesn't have the mental faculties to help with the whole process independently, but just making her feel welcomed and a part of that process can make a world of difference. On the other hand, in Dr. Crumbley's online presentation, he talks about roles the parents play. And it's okay for them to be a friend, to be a confidant, to be generous and loving on the children without necessarily having to be the disciplinarian or the one who's meeting their well-being needs, whether that's academically, physically, socially. Because we understand maybe for whatever reason there's some parents that will never reach that point, but they can still be involved and play a role in their children's lives. And so yeah, in your situation, that might look more like being a trusted friend, or just generously loving on and listening well to her daughter. Thanks for asking.
All right, in the spirit of football season, I'm going to call an audible because we finished a little bit earlier than we anticipated, and lunch has not yet arrived. So I'm going to ask our resource organizations that we're going to sort of give a 2-minute overview of what they do and how they can help kinship families. We're going to have them do that at lunch. I'm going to ask them to do that now, and then once they finish, we can have lunch. So I'm going to call representatives based on their table numbers. So the first representative would like to come up is from Al-Anon District 7.
Hi, my name is Laura. I'm from Bethany. Our office is located in Montgomery County, but we provide services for our department in Montgomery County, Bucks County, Delaware, Philadelphia, and Chester County. So the most applicable service for us today is our post-permanency services. So we have, a relationship with SWAN, which is the statewide adoption network. So they allow us to provide post-permanency case management, support groups, and respite services to all permanency post-adoption families in Pennsylvania. So that includes kinship families, so anyone that has permanent adoption or permanent custody is eligible for these services. You're eligible for, we get like 6 months of case management, you can do another 6 months of case management, really to just help the family to find resources in their community, talk about things like this. We really just kind of figure out, what's best for each individual family. So that would be like a caseworker coming into your home and helping you, find resources and find supports in your local area. So, like I said, we also have our support groups, and services are distributed, if you will, by the state. So we have a helpline, we have little flyers back there with the phone number, so you can call. There are many agencies that provide, but we, Bethany, is that my timer? No. Okay. Bethany is one of many, but of course we're going to say pick Bethany as your affiliate, and we would love to work with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. So I am Jessica Rigo. I'm the Executive Director at the Brandywine YMCA in Coatesville. We don't turn anyone away for the inability to pay. So we take insurance. We have all of our fees are on a sliding scale. If cost is a factor, we can remove that. I heard a lot of talk earlier about self-care. The Y is fantastic when it comes to self-care. So we offer childcare, whether it's summer camp, preschool, daycare, even if you just come in to work out, that whole social aspect of being part of the Y and what the Y does. We have babysitting services for the kids, so you can come in, get some time on the treadmill, maybe join a group exercise class, start a whole network just at your local Y, and know that your child who's coming in with you is taken care of. So if you come in to use the gym or take a class or use the pool, your child is in the babysitting services. If anything happens to your child, or if they're upset, or whatever the case may be, the staff will come get you. So like, you're taking care of yourself there, but your child is being taken care of as well. So I'm at the back table, and like I said, although I represent the Brandywine Y in Coatesville, this also is YMCA of Greater Brandywine, so 6 out of 7 locations in Chester County. Come back and let's have a little chat. This little booklet will show you all the things that the Y has to offer and give you more information about joining. And of course, if you have any questions about the other services that we have available for kids and families, I'm available to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brandywine. That was terrific. I love how you guys are staying under the 2 minutes. Okay, so next we have our Chester County Domestic Relations.
Thank you. Good morning. It's great to see so many folks here with us today. So I'm from the Chester County Domestic Relations Office, which is a branch of the Chester County Courts, and we handle child support services in this county, and you'll find the same office in whatever county you might happen to live in. One of the vital things that we provide at Domestic Relations is the establishment of paternity. This provides a lifelong benefit to children, including Social Security benefits, knowing medical and family history, and as they spoke about earlier today, that vital link to your family and your roots. So even without child support payments, paternity is a really important step to take, when we're caring for children. We also establish the appropriate amount of child support if the parents, either parent or both parents, are become in a position where they can contribute financially. And that's also a really great way that parents can become engaged, become involved. A lot of folks ask, they're not really making a lot of money, any amount can really be a contributing factor. It helps with the connection, and our office helps with how to, collect and distribute and assist families in navigating through that process. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chester County Domestic Relations. So the next is our co-host, Grand Family Connections of Chester County.
Hi, I'm Deb Rowlett. I'm the program coordinator for Grand Family Connections of Chester County, and we are thrilled to co-host this. I am a peer support for Grand Families. I am raising a grandchild, and I'm also raising a child that was not related to me. And our program is the actually only one in Chester County where we support kinship grand families who do not have involvement with Chester County children, youth, and families. We run a monthly support group, and at our support group we have a free meal. We have a fantastic youth worker for our children. She has lived experience where she was raised most of her life by her grandmother. She's a certified peer support specialist, and she has a bundle of energy, and she keeps our kids running the whole time. We offer peer support with helping to get resources for custody. We've helped with food gas cards, Walmart gift cards. We just try to meet the needs of the families where they are. They call and they have a need, and I just can plug them up with someone that can help with that need. We try to engage the community a lot in our, make awareness of the needs of these unique families through the schools, through our quarterly meeting that we have for the providers. And that kind of wraps up what we do. I also have the table next to me because they're not here. So I need this. I have to read this because I did not write this. This is the Chester County Safe Kids Coalition, and their mission is to help prevent and reduce the number of unintentional childhood injuries and death in Chester County through education, collaboration, and advocacy. They provide free programs to schools, churches, and community groups to educate parents, children, and caregivers on a variety of injury prevention topics. Programs include, but are not limited to, car seat, fire safety, medication safety, poison prevention, bicycle safety, water safety, school safety, pedestrian and home safety. Some of our activities include a bicycle safety rodeos, car seat checkups, pedestrian safety events, such as a walk to school days, and participation in health and wellness fairs. I also have the next table, which is our county assistance office. And back on the table, they have forms for applying for the different kind of benefits that families may be eligible through our county assistance office.
Okay, next we have Chesco Life Program. And as these representatives are talking about their organizations, if you have any questions, as I mentioned, during our lunch period, you will be able to go to visit their tables, talk to them directly, pick up any kind of brochures or things that they have. So you will have more time to interact with them.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Sandra. I am a bilingual family support specialist for Chesco Life. Chesco Life is a nonprofit program that works with family in the Chester County who have children with emotional, behavioral, or physical needs. So it's birth up to 21 years old. What we do is, as a group of professionals and parents that have the experience working with kids, either with autism or ADHD, we partner up with the family to find the resources that they need, and we do it together. So the idea is to empower the families doing it together, so you don't have to do it by yourself. It can be as simple as you want to talk about something, or you need to prepare for a 504, an IEP meeting. It can be very overwhelming. So just to be there with you, we can do it together, and we can go to the school and sit with you and just have that support. I think is wonderful. And again, you can just pick up the phone, you want to talk, we will be there for you, okay? Thank you.
Okay. Next we have, well, I think this is the Chester County Services Area on Aging. The Area on Aging was left off my sheet, so that's why I wasn't totally sure.
Hi,
Hi, my name is Tiffany Palmino, and I'm from the Chester County Department of Aging Services. We're located in Westchester, right on Westtown Road in the Government Services Building. Our department, we provide a different array of services and resources to older adults in the county, different programs and so forth. One of the programs we do provide is the Caregiver Support Program. This program is a reimbursement program that helps grandparents or older adults raising children in their home because the biological parent is not involved for a variety of reasons. So if you have any questions about the program, anything like that, I'm here to answer. But it's just, like I said, it's a reimbursement program. It allows up to $600 a month to help grandparents and other relatives reimburse for items such as school supplies, diapers, formula, baby food, seasonal clothing, any camps or extracurricular sports that the child might be involved in. And sometimes we are also able to provide childcare reimbursement for that. All right, so thank you.
Yeah, the Very On Aging is an organization that we make a lot of referrals to with our grandparents, and they absolutely love that program, so thank you for that. All right, so our next organization is the Chester County Health Department.
Hi, greetings everyone. My name is Lisa Ligori. I'm from the Chester County Health Department with a primary focus of immunizations. Hands down, vaccination is the most cost-effective, best way to ensure each person's health, the community's health, and our nation's health. So we provide vaccinations at no cost to uninsured children, underinsured children, and children with Medicaid insurance through the VFC, the Vaccines for Children program. It's by appointment only on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. We also provide for individuals with private insurance. We have a third-party vendor called VaxCare, and then we could see if our third-party vendor VaxCare accepts your insurance. Unfortunately, children with CHIP, that is a state-funded program, and CHIP says that you need to go to their provider for vaccinations. Ideally, each child will receive their vaccinations through their medical home, but when that's not possible, we are there. There is a phone number to call up if you want to zoom in on this, 610-344-6225. You can also find us on the website. And there's an email address and all. We would need the child's records and that other information. Also, we are approaching our big outreaches, flu and COVID outreaches. We have them at various sections of Chester County. It's a great opportunity to get the whole family immunized. It's kind of one-stop shopping. Here's the list for that. You can find that on the website. You'll be able to sign up online. We would highly encourage that. Some of our outreaches are close to 1,000 people. It's very, very well attended. Everyone can get the flu and COVID vaccine from ages 6 months on up. So I'll see you all there.
Okay, next we have the Chester County IU Early Head Start.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Kelsey Howdeshell. I'm from the Chester County IU Early Head Start program. We provide services for children, early education services from prenatal all the way up to kindergarten. Specifically, I am from the Early Head Start program, which is prenatal up until the age of 3. We provide services in Chester County that are home visiting services. Essentially, we come to the home 1 day a week for 90-minute sessions. The focus is really on the child's health, well-being, development, and then also creating and supporting that bond between the child and the caregiver. We also have a child care partnership program, which expands from Chester County, Montgomery County, and Philadelphia counties. And that is more of your traditional Monday through Friday child care setting. We do have some additional requirements for that program, but I'll be back at the table to talk with you about that. We also have a Head Start program, which is a federally funded program as well. That's from 3 all the way up to kindergarten. That is just for Chester County, and it is also a Monday through Friday early education program. While in care, all meals, diapers, and wipes are provided. You'll also be receiving services from a family service worker who are essentially like your school social workers. We are able to help you connect with resources. We've connected with the health department, WIC, SNAP, all of those types of places. And we can also provide you with some other tangible goods for at home, such as diapers, clothing. We also have socialization opportunities where families are able to get together and provide support to one another. We have several grandparents and kinship caregivers in our program, and I'll be back there to answer any further questions. Thank you.
Okay, next we have Compass. Mark.
Good afternoon. My name is Karina Martinez. I'm a prevention specialist for Compass Mark. Compass Mark is a science-based addiction prevention organization. So some of the things that we do is we provide information and referral for someone. Let's say you know someone or you yourself is struggling with addiction. We provide information and referrals to different facilities where you can find treatment or detox centers or things like that. The bulk of our work is actually in the school system, so we provide programs such as vaping prevention programs. We provide social and emotional learning programs for children in schools. And our goal is just to prevention, because we know our children sometimes struggle with, especially coming from different backgrounds, they struggle with different things, and we just provide that information so they can get through all the different life struggles. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have the Legal Aid of Southeastern Pennsylvania.
My name is Deborah Stees. I'm an attorney with Legal Aid of Southeastern Pennsylvania. We provide a lot of free legal services to the kinship care providers. Even if you think you're over our guidelines, be sure and call, because we sometimes have special grant programs that would allow us to, for example, go to court if you needed a custody order, if you simply needed a power of attorney or a guardianship agreement. Those are all things that we provide for free. In addition to that, we have an extremely high acceptance rate at Social Security. If your child or your child that you're providing care for learns differently than other children, or has some like an IEP or even some physical issues, and you think they might be acceptable to Social Security to get childhood disability, we would make that application for you on your behalf. And again, all our services are free. We don't take any percentage of the award as some private attorneys do. And we're just there basically also as a resource for those at home. I don't know if you can zoom in on our picture, but if you can't come to my table, you can reach us at the 877 number, also at our website, www.lasp.org. And we are in the 5 suburban counties, but the good news is there's a legal aid in every county in the United States. So they would obviously have a different name, but Philadelphia is their own entity because they were much too big to merge. But all the suburban counties are in Legal Aid of Southeastern Pennsylvania, and then you work your way up from there with various names of different legal aids in the state of Pennsylvania. So.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have Leslie Holt.
Hi, So I am Leslie Holt, and I am the director of A Child's Light. That's the name of our organization. What A Child's Light does is we provide funding for children who have been severely abused to access mental health care with no fee being applied to the family. So primarily what we do is we work with caregivers, parents, a lot of grandparents, which is why A Child's Light is here today. And we fund kids to get the mental health care that they need after they have experienced severe trauma. We won't, because there's little ones here, we won't go into the trauma, but I think we all understand that it's the big T's. So we are located, we just moved into new offices that we're so excited about in the back of Treehouse World, which maybe some of you have been there or have heard of it. And we have therapists that are working out of that location. But the thing about A Child's Light that is a bit different than most agencies is we partner with private therapists throughout Chester County, from Pottstown to Parksburg and everywhere in between. So we have a network of private therapists that we can call, so that if you are in, say, Oxford, and your child or grandchild needs mental health because of severe trauma, we can reach out to one of those therapists and we pay for them. So that your child or grandchild or niece or nephew can access private, trauma-informed mental health services. We also offer art therapy, and we offer equine therapy, which is especially just a really great type of modality for kids who have been in the foster care system. So I want to say also to the grandparents that are here, you guys are just awesome with what you do. You're amazing people. And I'm back in the corner with a big yellow sign that says Child Trauma Treatment, and our website is www.childslight.com. So you can go there and find more information about us, and we look forward to hearing from you if you have any needs. Again, my name is Leslie Holt. I'm the director of A Child's Light. Thank you all.
Okay, our next organization is it NAMI or NAMI? NAMI, okay.
Good morning, everyone. I have to be conscious. I have a very loud voice to not blow you out of the building. So my name is Sarah Wine. I'm the Executive Director of NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, Chester County. I want to start by saying thank you for having us here, and as our last speaker said, thank you so much for being here. My own grandmother was very, very pivotal in my growing up, just really a rock for me, and I feel her absence every day, and so I really appreciate you being here and what you're doing and giving to your grandchildren. And so NAMI is a national organization. Again, it stands for the National Alliance on Mental Illness. It is based in Arlington, Virginia. We have 49 state organizations and over 650 chapters or affiliates around the country, including 31 here in Pennsylvania, with NAMI Chester County, PA, the newest affiliate, which just launched in January of this year. And NAMI is the largest grassroots advocacy organization that is dedicated to supporting and improving the lives of those impacted by mental illness with education, support, and advocacy services. if there's 3 takeaways I hope that you take from me being up here, it is that we offer non-clinical peer support services. So what does that mean? What does that matter? Why does that matter? It means that every single person who is engaging with our organization is either someone with lived experience of having a mental health diagnosis, or they are a family member, friend, loved one, or caregiver. I myself am both a family member and a peer who lives with a diagnosis. So our services are peer supported, they are free, and they are available both virtually and in person. One of the things I want to bring to your attention, we are starting a program called Family to Family this fall. It is an 8-week free course for family members, friends, loved ones, and caregivers. That is for those who are caring for someone with a mental health diagnosis. And essentially, it is to support you in learning about communication skills, how to manage your relationship with your loved one, self-care, boundaries, things like that. It is an 8-week course. Again, it is free. It will take place at the Chester County Library in Exton. We are looking to add more courses down the road as well, both virtual and in person. We also have an event coming up at the end of this month in partnership with the Intermediate Unit and the Chester County Suicide Prevention Task Force. It is on September 28th. It is a video screening and community conversation. I am back there in the corner next to a child's light, so if you'd like to visit our table, I have more information, giveaways, you name it. So please come visit us and check us out. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Catherine. I am the Nutrition Education Coordinator for the Chester County WIC program. Every time I am at an outreach organization, I always get either, oh, what's WIC? Or, oh, WIC, you guys are so great, you guys help me out so much, which is why I am here. So WIC, we are a free nutrition program for women, infants, and children. We offer free health screening, free supplemental foods, formula, breastfeeding support. We also offer any referrals and nutrition counseling as well to all of our eligible participants. To be eligible for the WIC program, you must be a resident of Pennsylvania. You must meet the income guidelines. The income guidelines, we are able to abide by those if you are actively under medical assistance, SNAP, or in the foster care. So I will be in the back to answer any questions that you guys have. And yeah, stop by. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Beth Jester, and I am founder and facilitator of BC Grand Families, which stands for Bucks County. I got started after meeting and talking with Debbie, and have been running this group for 4 years. We are not exclusive to Bucks County because there are many areas around us that do not have grandparent support group. We also support others that are raising the children of loved ones. In addition, when my grandkids were little, when I first got them, they were 4 months and 2.5, they're now 8 and 10, and I was looking for a book to explain our family situation, which we all know is pretty unique. So I ended up writing a book. It's called We Live with Nana and Grandpa. And so this is about our family. And but if you feel like it relates to any of you, it would be great. It has meant a lot to the kids, and they are biracial children, and that has meant a lot to them too, because every family is unique, as it says in the book, but our family is a little bit more unique than others because of being biracial. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thanks for everybody coming.
Okay, one last call for the CBO representative. Is that person back? Okay, yeah. All right, so Candy, who is the program coordinator for PA Kin Connector, said, "Tia Maria, you should tell people about PA Kin Connector. I totally forgot to mention us." So for PA Kin Connector, we have an acronym, RISE, so we provide resources, information, support, and education to kinship caregivers across Pennsylvania. We are primarily a support line, and Alex is one of our navigators. We also have Lisa Barnelli. I think she stepped out for a minute. And we have a third. Oh, okay. Yeah, Lisa, stand up. So we have Lisa back there, and then a third, Jill. She couldn't make it today. But like I said, we are a support line. We also have a website, kinconnector.org, that has tons of resources available for kinship families. And we, again, are so thrilled to be able to host this event and to help our grandparents. So now we are finished with all of the presentations. Lunch is here, so what we're going to do is everybody can go get lunch. It's buffet style. Come back here, eat your lunch. Also mingle and talk with each other, as well as the representatives from the resource organizations. And I guess after like maybe 20, 30 minutes or so, we will have a raffle. Like I said, we're giving away 2 gift baskets. It's for the caregivers only resource organizations. You can't participate, sorry. But we will have that for the caregivers, and it's sort of some self-care items. And then once we wrap up with that, then as you leave, you will collect the backpacks for your the children in your care, and we have a couple of other useful gifts for you caregivers as well. So with that, thank you, and go grab lunch.